Hello students, welcome back. So this is your second online classes for biology. So we were discussing about the fundamental unit of life, cell. So let's continue again where we left. So in the previous video we have studied about the discovery of cell, the definition of cell, the types, the postulates of cell theory, and we also understood the difference between unicellular and multicellular organisms. See, when we were talking about, just a recapitulation of the previous video, when we were discussing about unicellular and multicellular organisms, unicellular, I told you, they are composed of one cell, so that single cell will perform all the life activities. Whereas in case of multicellular, since multiple number of cells are present in the body, therefore there will be division of labor. Yes, why division of labor? Because each and every cell will have their own specific role. For example, if certain cells have the role in making new things, then the others will be there for clearing up the contents of the cell, or clearing up the waste materials that is produced. Whereas some other will have some other process, maybe some other kind of activity. So each and every cell will have their own specific role. Here comes the role of cell organelles. Okay. About cell organelles, you have already studied somewhat in the previous year. So you know the definition of cell organelle. Those are the substances which are scattered in the cytoplasm. What is cytoplasm? We will discuss about it. So these cell organelles will have their own specific role, which makes up the activities. Now in the previous video, I just skipped to mention one part of a very important part about the cell theory, is that every living organism will follow the cell theory except for viruses. As we know that viruses are an exception. Yes, they fall in the borderline and they will not have any of the components, characteristics of a living cell. It is only living when it invades into a host, that is, invades into any other organism. Then only it can continue its life. Okay, so moving forward, now we come to the structural organization of cell. Now every cell will be composed of three important parts. Yes, each and every cell will have three parts into it. So those are the plasma membrane, nucleus, and the cytoplasm. So how did I tell this? All these were observed under a microscope. When you get to see a cell, maybe if you observe a plant cell, if you take when you perform any experiment, and you take the structure of a plant cell to observe, through your naked eye you won't be able to see the structures properly. Whereas when you see it under a microscope, these structures will be very clear to you. Therefore, these three structures are very important for the activities inside the cell and also with the interactions of the environment. Yes, so these will constitute how a cell will undergo its processes, whether it's internal or external. Anyway, now coming to the first important component of a cell, that is the plasma membrane. Now, plasma membrane can also be called as cell membrane. See, the plasma membrane is a very important component of a cell, as it is the outermost covering of a cell and which helps in movement of substances through in and out the cell. Now what do we mean by it? See, here plasma membrane it is the outermost covering that separates the contents of the cell from its external environment. That means it will be responsible for the movement of substances. See, in a plasma membrane, another important thing is that certain materials will be allowed to enter, whereas certain material will be restricted, will be stopped. Okay, so this entry and exit and prevention of certain other materials to move out is all controlled by the plasma membrane. How? By a particular process. So that is why this plasma membrane undergoes a term which is called as selectively permeable. Permeability means movement. Okay, the meaning of the word permeable means movement of substances. Selectively, why? Because as I told you just now that certain substances will be allowed to move and certain will not be. Restriction will come into picture. So you can just say that it's like the plasma membrane is very choosy. Certain will be allowed, certain won't be allowed to go out. Why? There is also a reason to it. Because of the movement of the substances, entry and exit, the proper control, the proper activity of the cell can continue. Yes? So how does it happen? How does substances move out of the cell and how the movement across the cell membrane takes place? See, another important thing, substances like carbon dioxide or water can move across the cell membrane through a process known as diffusion. So here we will get to know about diffusion. I'm sure you know the definition, which is movement of substances from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration is termed as diffusion. So to make this point a bit more clear, I would give an example for it. Just assume that you have lit an incense stick and you have kept it in one corner of the room. After a certain time, you will see that the gaseous molecules will occupy the entire area of the room, and also you get the fragrance of the incense stick. How did that happen? Why did that happen? The reason is, where you have lit the incense stick at the beginning, the stick at that point of time will start eliminating out the substances which is present. And when the substance, the fragrant which is coming out from the stick will occupy a certain area, from that particular area, when the amount of substances in that area becomes higher, it will start traveling somewhere else. So that is why this movement from a region of higher concentration to the other areas of the room where the concentration was low has filled up is what we call in other terms as diffusion. So the same thing happens in case of the entry and exit of the molecules across the cell membrane. Through diffusion, they can enter and go out of the cell. Yes? So along with this, we can also relate to another important life activity that we carry on, which is respiration. See, in respiration, we take in oxygen and we give out carbon dioxide. We know that carbon dioxide is a waste for the body. It is harmful, so it has to be eliminated out. So at a time when the carbon dioxide, amount of carbon dioxide in the body increases, concentration of carbon dioxide increases, the body is now ready to eliminate it out through a process called as external respiration. Yes, where we will eliminate out the component in the form of carbon dioxide. So it was more inside the body. It cannot be contained in the body anymore, since it is harmful, and therefore it has to come out. So we have eliminated out in that manner. Similarly, oxygen, when the amount of oxygen is more in the environment where we are living, that oxygen concentration, when it is more, has to enter the body where the concentration is less. So right now also, the amount of oxygen which is present outside the environment is more as compared to my body. So I am constantly taking in the oxygen from the external environment to a portion where my concentration is low. That is, I've taken it in, and now again the carbon dioxide which is more in the body will be eliminated out through the process of diffusion. So what is important we get to learn here? That gaseous exchange, yes, is also very important in the process of diffusion. Correct? So that is all about diffusion. Now, plasma membrane is as I told you, is the outer, the cellular membrane, the outer structure. In case of plants, they have an additional supportive outer covering which is called as the cell wall. So the plasma membrane in case of plants, they also have this cell wall which is absent in case of animal cells. Okay, now we will move into that later, but right now, this plasma membrane, there were several theories which was put forward before, but later it was a particular model which was proposed by Singer and Nicholson in the year 1972. Fluid mosaic model. So what is this fluid mosaic model? It is basically, so according to this model, plasma membrane is made up of a fluid-like manner substance. It's like it's freely composed component. Okay, now plasma membrane is also sometimes referred to as plasma lemma. Okay, now this fluid mosaic model is what we call as the phospholipid bilayer. Now this is a very new term to you all. What is a phospholipid bilayer? See, the structure of plasma membrane, when explained by these two particular scientists, they have told that it is composed it's like a sandwich. Yes, when you eat a sandwich, there are two breads in between. Maybe we will put cheese, butter, or lettuce and so on. So it's just like that. Imagine a sandwich, just like that. You can compare the structure of plasma membrane. It is a phospholipid bilayer, which is composed of basically glycerol, cholesterol. So cholesterol is the middle layer. Cholesterol, I'm sure you know what is the meaning of the word cholesterol. So it is the middle layer, and phospholipid, which is basically the main component of plasma membrane, due to which they got its name as the fluid mosaic model. Okay, now phospholipid is composed. What is it made of? What is the word? What are the components in the word in phospholipid? Phospholipid has three things in it. It is fatty acids, glycerol, and a phosphate group. I'm sure you've studied these things in your chemistry classes, that these three things, which is fatty acids, glycerol, and a phosphate group, will make up this phospholipid, and later in term will form the fluid mosaic model. Okay, so that is the structure of plasma membrane. So we were discussing about diffusion. Coming to another important term, we have one more important process involved in the structure of the cell membrane, which is osmosis, right? Here in osmosis, it is basically about water molecules. Otherwise, the definition of osmosis and diffusion is almost the same. In case of osmosis, the definition is movement of water molecules from a region of higher concentration to a lower concentration through a selectively permeable membrane is what we call as osmosis. So water follows here. In case of diffusion, it can be any molecule, whereas in case of osmosis, it is only considered in case of water molecule. So osmosis also plays an important role in transportation of water throughout the cell membrane. It depends. Now, basically, what are the substances present in water will affect its movement inside the cell membrane, right? Now, again, the movement of water, that is osmotic solution, has certain parts. Now we will compare it with a great experiment which will make things much more clearer to you. The types of osmotic solution, how can you understand exactly what osmosis is? So we will discuss about the types of osmotic solution and with the help of an experiment basically in the upcoming videos. So till now, I'm sure you understood the portion that we have studied. So another important announcement, please go through both the videos carefully, dear students. Certain questions will be given to you in the video once it gets uploaded in your Google Classroom app. Go through it, find out the answers, write in a copy like you did in the previous video, and submit the answers to me. Certain of you have not submitted, please do submit your assignments and the questions on time, and please see to it that the answers are already there in the videos. That is basically, if you watch the videos properly, answers are already explained. So till then, stay safe, study hard, and all the best. Goodbye.